Born into the digital age, I feel naturally affixed to the politics and theories behind online culture. The fascination stems from within me. Shaped by technology, social media, and the internet in general, I myself play advocate to the effects and influences of the digital world, in focus social media. The digital influence on human nature is networked into my critical thinking. My obsession with the internet directs a need to understand the effects that social networking platforms have on my behaviour and on the behaviour of socialisation. This drives the intention of the work I'm developing. Through creating my body of work this semester, I've established a position critiquing how emotions are played out via online platforms. I've been analysing how YouTube famous personalities orchestrate controlled narratives of personal trauma via their YouTube channels. I'm focusing on how they govern their behaviour and their expression of emotion in vlogging. The videos I am generating expose how these vlogs direct a false sense of reality of what true emotion is, posing the question, how does this affect the way we express ourselves in reality? Last semester my initial focus was to demonstrate the lack of significance within the traumatic narratives communicated in vlogging. I wanted to demonstrate how the sincerity of these narratives have become obsolete as the narratives get lost within the immoderate amount of vlogs on YouTube. A YouTube statistics journal, published in 2018, states that 300 hours of videos uploaded onto YouTube every minute. For the practice degree show, I created a digital installation titled Clickbait. The work speculates that with the excessive volume of vlog posts uploaded onto social networking platforms so frequently, the verbal content of such videos has mutated into what could be described as an information overload, akin to white noise. To convey this lack of connection and substance, I reenacted vlogs which are being posted by YouTube famous personalities, directing them as if they were my own. This forced the significance of the original narrative further into a contrived and meaningless tale. When posting these videos onto YouTube, I was met with a flux of comments from strangers, absorbed in the false display of emotion. My clickbait installation suggests that with the perpetual flux of vlog posts transmitted online every second, it creates an immense hypothetical black hole, ultimately intersecting the significance of the narratives, disrupting true human expression and communication. A paradoxical implosion of online interconnectivity is manufacturing a physically disconnected world. To visually exhibit this, I stream my reenacted vlogs through multiple screens on multiple screens, exhibiting an overwhelming and overpowering mass of information transmitted through smart devices. With multiple videos all playing at once, my character is speaking over herself, repetitively on a mass level. Consequently, what my character is saying becomes indecipherable and obsolete. The display methods here are, in retrospect, too literal. The excessive use of smart devices looked a little cliché. The narrative I wanted to communicate did not need such a literal visual cue. This is something I wish to avoid when it comes to my final degree show. With the confidence that my work will communicate the intended narrative clearly, I feel I can present this in a more subtle manner. The body of work I've been creating this semester is titled The Veneer of Intimacy. The definition of veneer is an attractive appearance that covers or disguises someone or something's true nature or feelings. The title refers to how emotional veneers are applied when expressing emotion online to suit the frameworks of the online platform. The internet famous personalities we see online are celebrated by their subscribers as if they were divine entities. The snippets of their lives which they share to the masses are polished, perfected and pre-constructed examples of themselves. Every post shared and every video published is a premeditated directive illusion which has been created to earn money, to gain followers, and to elevate up the ladder of online hierarchy. Consciously or subconsciously, they are driving the confusion of reality to those who absorb this content religiously. Even when expressing extremely intimate material, hit vloggers strategically conduct and navigate their dialogue and performance with these initiatives in mind. This is being blindly absorbed and consumed by the masses, to the point where communication of true human emotion has become a condensed, fickle and insincere byproduct of a capitalist world. I began to produce a body of experimental vlogs, narrating some of the personal traumas I have gone through, this to find how prevalent the veneer of intimacy is in regard to how I express my own emotions. I realised that my consciousness and the way I conducted myself in the front of the camera, even when expressing intimate struggles, was in fact another example of the condensing effects on emotion propelled by social networking platforms. The video enabled me to understand the true veracity of my conditioned nature. As an avid user of social media and a regular updater on Facebook and Instagram, I am more than aware of the habitual process I employ when manufacturing content before posting. Shooting the best angle of my breakfast and deciding on the perfect filter seemed a far cry from realising that the communication of even my most private and intimate emotions carried a subconscious veneer of predisposed quality control. I recorded a video blog for YouTube during an immensely difficult and sad time in my life. I explained how I was attempting to cope with a painful breakup, after which I had become very withdrawn, grieved, and in pain unwell. My emotions at this time were overwhelming, and I was struggling to function. Previous to shooting the video, I had planned nothing in regard to what I was going to say, how I was going to act, or how I was going to approach the video. After watching the video and analysing the way I communicated my narrative, I was mesmerised by my production. Under the impression that I had navigated myself with naturality, when in fact I was navigating with an ulterior acknowledgement to the platform. The video revealed that my instinctive consciousness and my communication of pain had been infiltrated by the repressions of today's social communication. The narrative was a performance. My body language was tainted, aware of my presence on the screen. Patterns in my behaviour in this video expose the consideration that I had when I was presenting myself throughout the performance. I was shocked that at a time where I was so damaged and distressed by the things I was communicating, that I could be subconsciously more concerned and preoccupied by performing the feelings in a certain way for the intended platform status quo. The emotions which I felt were so strong and overwhelming had been instinctively condensed into a substructure fitting for YouTube. My instinct, enslaved into a formality for virtual acceptance, explains how the veneer of intimacy is very, very prevalent. I began to post short excerpts of my videos onto Instagram. I wanted to gauge how people who knew me reacted to seeing personal content which was intimate and emotional, whether they believed I was communicating an unscripted personal narrative or whether they felt the videos were purposefully staged and scripted. I created polls for each video, allowing the audience to vote. The videos I posted all varied in content. Some videos captured me reenacting vlogs posted by famous YouTube vloggers. Some videos were unplanned vlog entries describing my personal narratives, and some videos were scripted versions of this, modified for the fitting substructures of YouTube. I split the experiments into different sections. I began with posting videos without audio. The audience only could interpret the narrative from my body language and my facial expressions. For the next part of the experiment, I introduced dialogue via subtitles. I later introduced audio, and for the last part of the experiment, I removed the visuals, so the audience only had the audio to base their judgment from. Controlling how the audience received information changed how they judged the content. With reference to my delivery within the breakup video, there is always a conflict of sincerity within content posted for online consumption. The conflict lies between one's intentions to be sincere to the platform and sincere to the way they are trying to communicate their narrative to themselves. The questions of the videos being sincere or staged within the experiments did no longer matter. The control of censorship and of given emotion, filtered through social media, illustrates a fabricated, regurgitated model of emotion that lacks authentic feeling as it is being registered and showcased for peer scrutiny. But this is not the case of being insincere. Although it is worth mentioning that when I was watching my videos back on YouTube, I felt completely disconnected and desensitized to what I was saying. In reality, the struggles I was communicating in the narrative continued to pain me. From the Instagram experiments, a shift in my work was induced. The interest resides now in the control of how emotions are being received via the platforms they are being shown on. The Instagram experiments were extremely beneficial. Although the original intention of the videos became unimportant, the frequency of the videos compelled me to focus more on the patterns of my behaviour and how I could manipulate the videos to alter how they were being comprehended. Having already intentionally or unintentionally manipulated the content, the experimental videos concluded that the content of what was being put online is just a fragment of how we communicate. The control of how the content is delivered has a prevalent effect on how the videos are being received. With this in mind, I approached my final year create with a new intention, to self-survey the patterns of my behaviour and change how they were being directed in order to manipulate how the audience interpreted the videos. For the degree show, I will be executing a performance via the live orchestration of my YouTube videos. I will be surveying my behaviours on the videos and manipulating how these videos and behaviours are being communicated directed to the audience. Self-surveillance and audience acknowledgement ultimately shape the performance. I will be dictating how the audience is receiving and absorbing the content, and as the audience is responding, I will be surveying these responses and controlling the communication of my behaviours by altering the videos. This presents itself on a similar level to the control and governance we see on the social media platforms that I have been analysing. The parallels between how we regulate and censor content for social media platforms here becomes a real-life representation, communicating how we alter and censor ourselves to fit the platform's intended audiences. Surveying how these behaviours are being communicated in a live and organic environment gives me jurisdiction to constantly change how the narratives are being directed, administrating this live control of my behaviours in reality while they are being screened via the virtual reality of an online platform. In the crit, I was present in the room whilst I was dictating the videos, and the audience could gauge a sense of uncomfortability and nervousness within me. I no longer felt disconnected from what I was saying. When I was watching the audience listen, in reality, I was witnessing the audience respond to the videos, and it made me feel uncomfortable and hyper-aware of the content within the videos. This is completely obsolete when people post onto social media, as they don't have to watch the audience reacting. They don't have to watch how the audience responds, and this makes it easier to become desensitized and disconnected to the content, reiterating how emotion is condensed for online platforms. Studying the effects on societal behaviour and interpreting how my behaviour is directed differently when communicating via social media frameworks creates a ceaseless need for reflection and consideration. The ways in which I have approached experimentation, production and staging throughout this process has allowed for a constantly evolving body of work, which continues to invigorate me and surprise me. The work I have developed in second year was a catalyst for the body of work I am producing today. The undertones of internet hierarchy, mass groups of followers, divine internet personalities, and surveying the behaviours and patterns of internet-driven micro-communities are all notions which were within my second year work and continue to drive the work I am generating today. Throughout this body of work, I continue to communicate different perspectives and interpretations on social media's effect on societal behaviour. Although the context behind the thesis I'm communicating and the work I'm creating in response is constantly developing, the work is cohesive and consistent and shows a journey of progression. With reflection to the work I generated in second year through to the work I'm making today, it is clear as I have delved deeper and attained a more refined critical position on the context I am communicating, a stronger sense of gravity and conviction within the work has come to fruition. My work reiterates the importance of being self-reflective in regard to how we are moulded within society. We are aware of how we consciously modify ourselves when we are communicating to cohere to a given environment, and this is hyper-exercised when we communicate via online platforms. In a world where we communicate so prevalently online, this is essential to acknowledge. There we go.